So money comes in, perhaps you celebrate, you exhale for the first time in weeks, and then the bloody boiler breaks, or the tax bill lands, or you simply just find yourself investing in something that you didn't even plan to. Or maybe it's not like that. Maybe the money does hang around, but the feeling just doesn't seem to be shifting. Maybe you're hitting some financial milestones and you thought that that would make you feel safe. But instead of safe, you've got this new worry, more money to protect, more money to lose, more money to lie awake thinking about. I've spent 17 years as a qualified financial advisor, and the thing that really kind of confused me the most was that it wasn't even the tax calculations, the stock markets. It was literally watching people who had more than enough money, objectively, mathematically, more than enough, and still couldn't feel the safety and the security that came with financial security. I was one of them. And maybe you are a financial professional too, listening to this and seeing the same with your clients. I've trained many, many coaches worldwide in what I'm going to be sharing with you today. And in this particular episode, it's going to be a brand new series on my YouTube channel and on my podcast called The Body of Wealth. And so over the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be showing you exactly what's happening in your body when you've interacted with money and what becomes possible when that starts to shift and change. So let's dive in. So I first of all want to describe 3 experiences to you. And as I share these experiences, I want you to notice if any of these feels familiar, but not in your head, in your body. So the first one is perhaps you're somebody who's really good at making money. This is me pretty much most of my life, really good at making money. You might be capable, very resourceful, perhaps entrepreneurial. You can generate income. That's never been the problem. But the problem has been keeping it. And perhaps there is a number that your bank balance reaches, and then something always happens that pulls it back down again. The car breaks down, the unexpected bill, the tax that you hadn't planned for, the opportunity that needed that immediate investment. And perhaps you have been less interested in planning ahead and more in the living in the here and now with money. And you may have even noticed this rhythm. It becomes almost quite predictable, doesn't it? And you're starting to maybe think that it isn't coming from things that you're doing. It's coming from this inner feeling, this just sense of feeling. And maybe that describes you well. Or let me share another one with you. So maybe you are earning really good money, maybe multiple income streams, you just had a pay rise, people really love your work, maybe you've built a business that you've built from scratch, and somehow this kind of worry is kind of playing catch up in your body. And you thought that actually listening to everybody's advice and tips about earning more would make you feel safe, but it didn't, because you just have more money to lose now and your body feels it. So what happens is it stands guard. This kind of hypervigilance sets in where we frantically start checking numbers. And we get this kind of doom feeling that this is the month that it's just all going to fall apart, right? And it's exhausting. I've been there myself. And it's exhausting where we know that your body's trying to protect you from something that it doesn't really quite believe is yours to keep in the first place. And the third example I wanted to share with you, and again, just notice whether this brings up anything, any feeling, any sensation. The third one is that maybe you are somebody you've done the work, you've read the books, you've done the courses, you've written in your gratitude journal, but your income has just stayed at the same, it's plateaued. And you know deep down that actually you do want to make more money, and there's maybe a part of you that feels a bit selfish for wanting more money. And there's a little bit of resistance that, well, why is it fair for me to make more money when other people are struggling right now? And there's a deep fear that's running your relationship with money that is deeper than just the knowledge. There's something underneath that no amount of journaling and gratitude and other modalities or rituals that you might be doing are just not reaching. If any of those things landed, if you felt any sensation at all, whether it was a tightness in your chest or a sensation in your throat, I often get feelings in my throat when I'm connecting to money, which is all about voice and communication, then this is what we're really talking about here. These money patterns and examples are your body's way of doing exactly what it was designed to do by keeping you at these levels of wealth that it was supposed to do, right? This is about keeping you in these safety feelings, these feelings that are familiar, and not just familiar for you, but familiar for generations before you. Let me know if you're listening to this and this is resonating. If you're watching this on video right now, let me know in the comments if you're resonating with this. And what I mean by this is that when I really learned how to understand how somatically is what we're experiencing in the body, when I really understood and was able to really feel that emotion in my body, it really changed everything about my relationship with money, because I wasn't just thinking about the feeling, I was actually allowing myself to really feel that emotion, which can be really uncomfortable at times. And there's going to be a bunch of tools and things that I'm going to be sharing with you over this series that are going to support you with how to navigate those. And what I really understood from this work was that your body will have like a particular set point or a safety point. And it's not to do with the numbers. It's not actually to do with the money itself. It's to do with what your body is allowing you to feel comfortable and to feel safe. And very often this is a level that we've been exposed to within our family. If you think about your family growing up around money, you know, if all of a sudden you start to out earn that familiarity pattern, which I see a lot, where maybe your mum earned £30,000 a year, and then all of a sudden you seem to be earning more than 30,000, and your body starts to reject it unconsciously, because maybe there's a belief underneath that, well, how dare I earn more than my mum when my mum had to struggle? Or maybe your family lived in a state of just getting by, like just having enough. Well, maybe in that scenario, your body's learned that just about enough is the safety zone. And so if money arriving creates some friction there, then it's not going to feel safe. Another really common one I see and have also experienced myself is when money and conflict are intertwined. So maybe there's been arguments about who spent what, or tension when bills came in. I've spoken to many people who have experienced childhood experiences where, you know, they've seen something come through the letterbox, and then all of a sudden arguments are coming in the household, and literally your body will respond to that because it's learning that money arriving or something connected to money is a signal of danger. And so what happens when you earn beyond these kind of financial set points is that your body, it kind of braces, right? It goes into fight, flight, freeze, or fawning, because your body's learned that anything outside of that familiarity is not safe. And it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? When you think about it, it does make a lot of sense, even logically, just kind of contemplating this. And remembering that your body's job is to bring you back to familiarity. The body does not like things that are not familiar. And so understanding these patterns and releasing these patterns are two completely different things. One happens in the mind and the other happens in the body. So if you've been trying to shift a body pattern with a mind-based approach, then you've been working in the wrong way, which is why these deeper rooted beliefs around money are not actually shifting. And let me know if you resonate with this, if you're listening to this and you're like, maybe this is why I've done the money mindset work and things are just really not shifting in the way that I want to. This is where the somatic work is another level of understanding your relationship with money. And a good example of that is when I stepped out of my role as a financial advisor, I knew all of the practical sides of money, I had all the knowledge, and I was in financial debt for most of my 20s. And I managed to get myself out of these patterns because by working on my money mindset. But then there was still some really deep rooted patterns that my body wasn't allowing itself to release. And I'm going to be sharing in this series some of the tools such as emotional freedom technique and heart breathing that really supported me to be able to release those patterns. Because my body had learned that a long time ago that watching people receive money, particularly women, was about being manipulated, being controlled through money. And so two things happened inside my body that I didn't understand until I did this work. Firstly, that my body decided that accumulating money was dangerous because money was what people used to control other people. And secondly, that my body decided that spending money proved that I was free, that nobody was going to control me. So two very opposite patterns, but both trying to protect me, both running in my body in those moments. So I would earn and I would spend. I would earn and I would spend. The money would come in and my body would find a way literally to move it back out again because having more than just enough just didn't feel safe. So I could see the pattern, I could name it, I could explain the psychology behind it. But the actual change work was much deeper because the pattern was living in the body, in my chest, in my stomach, in my throat. And it only shifted when I stopped trying to think my way out of it and started working with somatics instead, with the body. So I want you to hold this just for a moment. If you recognize any part of this, then I want you to hear that you're certainly not alone and it's not your fault. It's not your fault that your body has learned this. Generations before you have literally carried this pattern, whether it's your mother, your grandmother, women in your lineage who were never allowed to have a safe relationship with money. If your parents played small with money, they worked really hard, they saved carefully, never took risks, never talked about money. That was literally, it wasn't even necessarily a conscious choice to do those things. It was their body's way of staying safe because of what they learned. And then you've absorbed that. And not even through words, but literally somatically through our bodies. And now that you are an adult listening to this, it's about bringing curiosity from a place of compassion, of course, to start to really understand these somatic connections. And actually, sometimes that the feelings or emotions that you are experiencing around money may not even be yours. It belongs to a prior generation, maybe several generations, and it's been living in your body your entire life. So the moment you stop blaming yourself for these patterns and start working with your body from a place of love and compassion, not judgment, then extraordinary things begin to open up. So I want to give you something, just a little first practice, really, really, really simple, that you can start to notice. So I want you to think about a money moment that maybe I have already shared in this episode, or a money moment that's recently come up for you. And as you hold that thought, just notice. Where do you feel any tension? Where in the body do you feel that? And wherever that sensation is, that is your body's information system telling you something about your relationship with this particular money moment. And most of us have spent our entire lives trying to override signals, ignore things, push through it, or just pretend it's not there. I've been through so many scenarios in my life where I have just been like, oh, I'm just going to ignore that because it's the easiest thing to do. And that was my first step, was actually understanding and learning that it was safe for me to feel the emotions around money. And this is what I'm inviting you to do the same. So next time you notice a money scenario going on that's triggering something for you, next time you feel that tightness before you open up your bank account, or notice a contraction in your in your chest or in your lung space before you send an invoice out, or a heaviness when you're thinking about your financial future, don't try and fix it. Just notice. And let that be a moment of deep understanding of where money lives in your body. And allow yourself to notice. And that is the practice, to notice. You can take a nice deep breath just to reset your nervous system. I like to do a breath piece where I just take an in-breath for the count of 3, and then I just hum, and then I release out through the mouth. And it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It enables you to utilize your vagal tone. And it will look something like this. You might go, and it's just a really nice release breath. And just notice. Just notice. Notice those patterns. Notice those sensations. Just notice. And you might just witness a gentle softening in the body, just a little bit of extra calm come in, and you might feel nothing at all. That's also okay. There's no right or wrong answer here. The practice is the noticing itself. And so over the next 5 or 6 weeks in this series, I'm going to be giving you some other specific tools for working with that you can play around with and notice. Practices that go into some somatic work. We're going to be talking about things like emotional freedom technique and heart breathing. And I just want to invite another final question in for you today. What if healing your relationship with money isn't something to fix, but what if it is the very thing that makes everything else available to you? When we bring in the opportunity feeling in our bodies as well, that gives us another way of expanding out possibility for ourselves. So when you've noticed what's possible, see if you can move that sensation from a place of where you are right now to, this is what's possible for me. And we can start to visualize in our bodies, in our minds, what is available, what is possible when your body learns that wealth is safe to hold. And if you want to dive into some guided somatic practices specifically around money, then I'll pop a little link in the show notes below and in the video description. Come and join us in our little mini 3-hour body of wealth experience. It's £27 or $37, and it will just start to open out your personal experiences with using somatic practices specifically for money. And we also have our wealth resonance program opening in May of 2020, and will really support you to be able to dive into deeper somatic practices like emotional freedom technique and give you a toolkit to work around with money. And if you want to know more about that, comment waitlist below this video, or I'll pop a link in the description so that you can hear about that first. So let me know, share in the comments below which of the patterns are you starting to notice? What are you recognizing? And if you're listening to this on the podcast, drop me a message over on Instagram. And make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, because we have some wonderful episodes coming up in this series to support you in your journey. And I will see you again on the channel and on the podcast next Monday.